Stranger Things, the Upside Down, and Human Suffering. And I would like to say, as I'm speaking today, I am sending through a transmission of sovereignty. We're going to talk about that. Before we begin, if you are drawn to conversations like this about consciousness, interdimensional awareness, off-world beings, galactic awakening, communication with the spirit world, standing in your power, and awakening your spiritual gifts, make sure that you like this video, subscribe to the channel if on YouTube, and stay connected. Today's conversation is called Stranger Things, the Upside Down, and Human Suffering. If you've watched the show Stranger Things, did you relate? I want to talk about why this show resonates so deeply with so many people, not just as an entertainment, because it reflects something that many of us humans are experiencing right now. I was shocked. I watched this show with my son, and I was amazed. I was excited. And before we go into a deeper conversation, then I want to let you know that monthly there is a group energetic healing, meditation, and talk on these topics. Also monthly, there is a free event, a multi-day free event called the Galactic Awakening Experience. And if that feels supportive to you, because it's going to continue the conversation that we're talking about that today, there's a link in the bio that you can fill out, or you can comment "heal" below in the comments for an invitation. Now let's talk about what's actually happening here. Stranger Things is a fictional show. I don't know, again, if anyone has seen it, and you can comment if you have. And just like with any fictional show, there's going to be Hollywood, entertainment, all of those things that can be not exactly real life depiction of what's happening. And there's a lot of truth that happened in that show. In the show, there's a thing called the Upside Down, and it represents an unseen realm that exists alongside everyday life. And the people don't realize it's affecting them until their bodies, emotions, and lives start changing. That part is very real to what's going on here with us. Human suffering and the unseen. In the show, people thought the kids were imagining things. They didn't believe what they were seeing. But the effects were real. People were suffering, and their nervous systems were overwhelmed. They were in fear. Their lives were impacted. That is also happening for us here on Earth. Whether we can see it or not, many of us feel this. The show Stranger Things points to other dimensions, other realms, other intelligences that influence human life. We don't need to define exactly what those realms are, and I will do more videos and talks on that, either here on the Facebook page or on my YouTube channel. But we can recognize the experience of being affected by something unseen. Many people feel this through anxiety, emotional overwhelm, physical symptoms. You could even say chronic disease. I know I did. That is part of my story. Mental pressure or mental things happening as well, or a sense that something just isn't right. So we're going to talk about entities and intelligence. And before we get into that, because I know there's probably people on here with different belief systems, that's okay. But we're just going to open our minds to this place. In Stranger Things, there are intelligences like the Mind Flare and Vecna. And yes, these things seemed a little scary. There was a moment where I was like, ooh, I'm watching this with my son. There was a couple moments like that. My son is a little bit, he's not too young. But there were intelligences like the Mind Flare, Vecna, forces that influence through fear, control, and disconnection. I'm not saying that those characters exist the same way in real life. I'm saying that the experience of being influenced by something you can't see is very real. Just because something is unseen doesn't mean it isn't affecting us. And that includes entities. I will do another video on this at some point. These can either be higher vibration entities or they can be lower vibration entities. And if you want to put in the comments about any entities that you feel you might experience, some people might talk about angels. That would be an entity. You could also call human beings an entity, but what I'm talking about is separate than human beings. The hive mind, the show also talked about the hive mind. I was when I heard this, I was like, oh, because I do a lot of work with the hive mind. So the hive mind, we could also relate this to the mass consciousness and loss of sovereignty. So sovereignty is really about standing in our own power. And again, I'm doing a transmission, an energetic frequency vibration transmission while I am speaking about boundaries and sovereignty. So I'm doing that, and it's not anything that anyone needs to figure out or tap into. You can just receive. One of the strongest themes in the show is the hive mind, where individuality and sovereignty get overridden by a larger field. A lot of human suffering comes from being entangled in collective emotional and mental fields without realizing it. Really picking up, and I just did an event on how we can pick up on other energies, and that can really affect us. There have been many times as a healer, which we are all healers, that on the journey on this journey, maybe feeling, and I'm not saying that emotions are not bad. We really want to validate our emotions and hold space for ourselves and others. Emotions are beautiful things. And there's many times that maybe I would feel a deep sadness or fear. There can be reasons for this. There can be an entity around that we're not aware of. But also there's this place of the hive mind and the mass consciousness that can affect, and those energies can come in and affect us. So there was many times where I thought it was me feeling something. Maybe I had shame or guilt or felt like I needed to change something within myself, but it was really other energies coming in. And one of those places is the hive mind. So I was very excited that Stranger Things was talking about this, and the mass consciousness. If there's a hive mind or a mass consciousness, and they're two separate things, but we could bring them into the same concept of great hatred or fear or similar emotions or mental states like that. The hive mind is more mental. A lot of human suffering, so I'm going to repeat my last statement, a lot of human suffering comes from being entangled in collective emotional and mental fields without realizing it. People carrying pain that isn't just personal, they absorb what is not theirs. And the beautiful thing about this is starting with awareness that this is happening. I could also bring in the words mind control. That's a separate topic. But the beautiful thing about being aware of this and starting to gain awareness is that all of this can be clean, cleared, healed, and we are very powerful beings that we can stand in our full sovereignty. So again, putting a transmission through for that today. Dormant powers and sovereignty. Another powerful truth in the show Stranger Things is that the characters discover abilities they didn't know they had. That's not about being special. We all of us have this, which is super cool. I just got chills in saying that. It's about us remembering that we have these, what you could call superpowers. They might seem like superpowers. They really are innate gifts that are just wanting and waiting to come alive. Some of us have, these gifts have gone dormant, or we've just forgotten that we've had them because there have been different things that have happened in the past where maybe that was necessary. A lot of this is subconscious. It is very beautiful when we can awaken these gifts that are, you could call them God, spirit, source, given, and there are innate powers, superpowers, and again, I'm getting chills from deep down inside. They're so beautiful, and there's so many gifts. We are all one, and we all are like snowflakes in that these gifts can come out in like a snowflake. Each snowflake has its own design. We each have our own design of how these gifts can come out. Some of my gifts, I have many. We all have many, and we all have an array. But mediumship, channeling, and there's many others that connect to many walks of different dimensions. So that's another part of Stranger Things that really connects to the reality of what's going on, is dimensional, that we are in a multi-dimensional existence, as well as you can say interdimensional. In this show, they survive and go back to normal with their lives. I think that's one step that I know that we can take a little further, is in the show, in the end of the show, they stood in their power and they were able to come into their own sovereignty. Really what it looks like when we come into our spiritual gifts is that even transitioning, transforming, transmuting to a higher level vibration. And I know this is happening on a whole global level, and not only global, past global, so dimensional level, that the vibration is raising. But what can this look like as human beings? It can have very real and tangible, beautiful effects. I know for me, what it's looked like in my world is being way less reactive in our families, in our homes, standing in a place of light and love within ourselves. I was noticing the other day within myself and others, not living in that state of fear, and not only not living in a state of fear, coming to a place where we're in the present moment more and more, that I'm not wondering what's going on. I can be present as a mom. I can be present as a leader, as a business owner, as a woman in my own moments of quiet and stillness. There is so much beauty in this stillness. And really that affects on a global level and further than global as well. I talked about, again, the dimensional, that this is really a huge raising of consciousness, of vibration. And I believe that that raising of consciousness, and I don't know if anyone else here listening is a healer, that it is very important to pay attention and to be aware of what the show Stranger Things and other shows, and the reality of what's happening is it's not always just light and love and we're healing and raising our vibration. there are these other darker vibrations and entities and worlds like the Upside Down in Stranger Things, and how those worlds, those realms, those dimensions, and I am going to do some videos on some other topics that the show talked about, rifts, wormholes, portals, stargates, other worlds, planetary, that these things really, and that brings us into gifts of ancient wisdoms as well, ancient civilizations, whether it be Celtic, whether it be Egyptian, whether it be Mayan, whether it be, there's so many, Lemurian, Atlantis, the galactic, the cosmos, all of that, and that goes along with the entity conversation, that is also very real. And whereas Stranger Things didn't hit on those topics, I can help people with this if they want help, but we can easily relate what the Upside Down, what when after the Upside Down there was a wormhole and a portal, and they were talking about rifts, how all this is real and is what's happening. And that's how some of these other energies can access, other energies, frequencies, and vibrations can access what's happening on a human level. And that when we bring in, and I mean cleaning, clearing, and healing into these realms, into these dimensions, into how they're affecting us as humans, entities as well, we do this, many people do it in different ways, but I believe that it is vital to be done with complete love and complete unconditional love, that anything that feels like a lower vibration or a darker place, it's really in the healing, cleaning, clearing of love, not in an overly empathetic way, not over excess empathy, but really standing in our truth, standing in our energetic boundaries, and celebrating our truth and standing in our sovereignty, that we can heal these places from love. And then that's when our vibration can shift. And it's a very reality as visionaries, as healers, as empaths, as people that are sensitive to energy, and really just human beings, that being aware of this place and not being scared of anything that's lower vibration or dark, and that it exists parallel with our existence. And it's through this healing that we can really, and cleaning and clearing and shifting, it's not always about healing, that we can really stand in this place of sovereignty, our powers as a collective, and rise to what people are calling is a new earth. But it's not just like, oh, we're rising to a new earth. It's also being aware of these other places that are happening, just like they were talking about in Stranger Things. So again, the transmission has gone through for sovereignty and boundaries. And again, if you're interested in any of these topics, then stay connected. And that monthly free energetic healings, talks and meditation, a smaller event that will happen monthly, and a few day event that is called, at this point, I'll do a couple of them, but Awakening, Galactic Awakening, because there's a large connection of this to the galactics. And part of my soul mission, so everyone has a soul mission, is bridging the gap between Earth and the stars. So again, if you're interested in that, just wanted to let you know about that again. I love that everyone was here today. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being part of this journey. And I love you. And we are all sovereign beings and all have amazing beauty and power. And as a collective, that we don't need to fear the suffering. Okay, love you.